Thanks, guys. So my name's Jake, and I'm an iOS developer at IA.com or iagroup.com. And if you have been to Prasanna's talk and Donnie's talk, so we talk enough about IA, but I can talk it again. So IA basically is an international group, and we make apps for Australia, Italy, Luxembourg, US, Hong Kong, Malaysia, anywhere. So we just make property apps. And you can find me on GitHub, Drupal, and Twitter. So I have more followers on GitHub if you look at my profile than Twitter. So it means my coding skill is much better than my talking skill. and I have more like on Drupal than Facebook. My design skill is much better than my social skill. So you might have heard this talk before, and you might say, what? Even the talk, the joke, they are same? No, I tell you not. I have improved this talk. Hopefully, I try to. So last time I showed you guys my son on the slides, and this time I bring my son here. Does the kid called Ken? And you don't have to tilt your head. I'm going to show you guys pictures. So my son is a big fan of, I hope Gio is here now. So big fan of digital turtles, and he just had his 3 years old birthday 2 weeks ago. And you can see, if you look at my GitHub profile, you might notice I'm the #1 Swift developer in Australia. I think I introduced you the youngest developer in Australia, Swift developer anyway. Here's Swift programming. So after 3 years, so I decided to give him more stuff like programming stuff. And you can see, maybe he's a youngest VR user as well. And probably in the future could be the youngest VR developer. And you can see, I actually very impressive this moment. I call it magic moment, because you can see his mouth just open up. Wow. And I found out that VR thing could be the next future. So I might give a VR talk next year if I can. And just look around more pictures. You can see tilting, tilting his head around. And then another magic moment again. Oh, come on. You know, how bad I use iPad. My son actually is good at, better than me, to use iPad. So, all right. So VR is the future, but let's talk about something like a present. So interface builder is the present, magic stuff. So today I'm going to talk about interface builder. You might notice that's running on my iPad. All right. So I can background it and bring it back for IBaNimatable. So you can find these slides on GitHub now. And last time I didn't do it, but I give it in the last slide. I hope you keep it here. And if I want to navigate to the next one, I can tap on the REA logo, like on the bottom right. So I can tap on it, and then you can see I navigate to the next one. If I want to navigate back to the previous one, I can use swipe gesture like this. It's pretty simple. And the first part, we are going to talk about how can we design interface builder. So before we do it, it's different, right? So we start with an idea. Everyone can have great ideas. And even my son Ken, it's only 3 years old. One day he came to me and said, Dad, can you buy a VR headset for kids version? Because that one's too heavy, too big, right? Actually, the VR headset is bigger than his head. So I'm bringing a new Kickstarter idea here. You guys can do it. And the next step might be we draw that onto the paper. So why I put IEA logo there? Because this paper was drawn by school kids at IEA. So they came to IEA, have like a kids hackathon for 2 days. And then we just work together to create creative stuff. So you can see this app called Swap Stop. So the idea is about they can swap their lunchbox in school. I don't think that's going to work, because I'm not going to swap my lunch made by my lovely wife, Ashley here, and to that guy called Prasanna, right? No way. But school kid doesn't care about them. And they might, if they can, they might swap their mom as well. So might be the next step, iteration 2, they swap their moms. Let's move forward, and then the next step, and we might use some professional design tool called Sketch to put some colors there, lay out stuff, and not enough because we need some animation stuff or dynamic stuff navigation, so like a framer. But you can see how many this design and prototyping apps on the market. There's only few of them. I can tell you, to be honest, I can use the first row, but I haven't used all of them because too many. And no matter how many apps you use for design and prototype, we have to use a tool called Xcode before we can ship the app to App Store. So it means we have a lot of ways when we spend the time on the prototyping tool or design tool. So let's have a look. We have a process. We can transit from design to development. So here's a normal process. We might have a sketch file here. So we draw our design in 6S Arbo. Then we might redo it in Interface Builder, Xcode Interface Builder again. So they can see those two designs almost exactly the same. And sometimes it's not enough because we need some the other tools to help us. For example, like Framer to add on some animations and zapping to get some like a dimension. And if you have static navigation, we might go to emission. So you tap on the one image and then navigate to the next image. Something like that. But that's not enough because there's a lot gaps or issues between those two processes. So the first one I call it color, and then have a look. Sketch have a very great tool called color picker. So once I press Control C, and then I can get a color picker like this, and Sketch gave me the color hash code called BA77FF, something like that. So, but let's take a break and have a small game here. So can you actually spot the difference between those three purple colors? Yeah, if you have a good design, good eyes, I call it designer eyes like Jake. And then you can see the first purple is darker, the second one's lighter, and the last one's much lighter. But do you know about they all have the same hash code? What? So sometimes I give the developer this hash code and then they end up different colors. What happened? Because different design tool, they use different color space. And Sketch, they use Sketch RGB, which is web RGB. And in the Xcode Interface Builder, we have more than 10 different color space. I don't want to deep in the detail of the talk because there can be a 1 hour talk. Actually, this year, WWDC 2016, and Apple has an entire talk about this color space. And Sketch, 2 years ago, they put a blog post about the Sketch RGB, and there's a 30 minutes read. You can check it out and find out why they are different. But you can see there's a gap there because this hash code doesn't mean anything. The color means anything. You have to grab the designer to check your color, even they give you the hash code. So let's move on. The second one is called layout. So you can see I upload my sketch file to ZBrain and I give nice layout, outlines like this one, 1024 points, and then we have a distance from the top to the button. So it's nice, right? If we only support 6S, like this one here. So we can directly convert our design from ZBrain or Sketch to our 6S. But how about 4S? You can see the tick size has been covered by our panel now. All right, so how about we support iPad? It's not going to do it because you can see my login panel has been stretched to edge. And if we put it on like landscape, even worse than it used to. So there's a lot of issues or gaps between the development and design. And there's a joke you may already seen it before. So my boss asked me, compare the work, and then I said comparing. And your boss might heard about Apple actually say we improve the performance for Swift 3. I think that's not true, but your boss probably will believe Apple than me. Then okay, I need to figure out another excuse. So that's my new excuse. So next time my boss goes, okay, back to work, Jake. Oh, I'm waiting for iPad design. Your boss calls, oh, carry on. Okay, that's the way I actually hang around. in the office. So we already seen some of these issues, but just not of them. Each single one, I can give you 1 hour talk on this, but I don't have time. So it's like dynamic tie support, there's another WWDC talk this year, and accessibility support, and another WWDC talk. Animations, so if you use framework, and you want to Google around, how can I convert my framework animation to Xcode iOS animation? So the Google gives you the first one, no, absolutely not. Second one, short answer, no. Why? Because framework use web animation system and iOS use our nice sprint physics-based animation. Their timing are different. So basically, we cannot directly convert our prototype into production animations. So of course, most of app they don't. Most of the prototyping tool, design tool, they can't support navigation interaction, right? So how can we fix this issue, right? If you think about the developer and the designer, both of them they can work together on the same code base, and then they use the same tool, and there couldn't be a problem anymore, because the designer actually can use interface builder to design. Let's have a look live demo time. So let's have a look. How can we design in interface builder? So can I swap? All right. So here's my Mac. This time I'm going to start with Xcode. So you already seen a lot live coding today, but I'm going to do live designing in interface builder today. So let's start with a new project. So hopefully Xcode shows up. So I create a new project called single view application. And I call it IBAwesome. So this is the application name. So I put it on the desktop. And I still can see that. Okay, cool. So let's run the app. So okay, so I need to change to my favorite simulator called 6S. And I run it. I'm now actually more comfortable because my coding skill is much better than my talking skill, right? So, okay, where's my simulator? All right, you can see a brand app. It's not actually very exciting. So let's go ahead and open our storyboard. It's called main.storyboard. So if you use Sketch, storyboard is basically like a page in Sketch. And then you can see some view controller is basically like arbor in Sketch as well. I think my mic is not working. Anyway, if you guys can hear. All right. So let's put something there. So if I in Sketch, I press R key, but in interface builder, there's a search called view. So I put an UI view here. Here we go. So first thing, I'm going to change the color to IEA red because I love IEA. And the second one, I'm going to change the size to a square, it's like 128 by 128. So you can see we have one square on top of a 6S canvas, or you call it arbor or view controller. So next step, I'm going to show you guys something you can't do it in Sketch. You can only do it in Interface Builder. So it's called multi-device support. So you can see here, I bring up this panel. There's Xcode 8 only, so it's not in last talk anyway. And you can see we can choose iPad Pro, iPad 6S Plus, 6S, 5S, anyway, many devices. How many? I don't want to design for each single one. There's too many. So how can we do it? If we do it in Xcode, we can do one design, support all. So for example, if I go to the iPad Pro, you can see this definitely is not supported yet because you can see the square actually on the top left. And how can we do if we change it to like landscape mode is even not working? But let's do something called iOS has a design system called auto layout, so I can actually quickly apply some auto layout. Like I apply the width and height, and then I just make it like a center here. So you can see we have some blue highlight or blue outlines there. That means there's fully constrained. Let's come back to our other device. You can see even on a big iPad Pro, you can still see center. And we can just tilt it like landscape mode. And then, iPads can not only support iPad, they can also support split view. Like this one here, we have 2/3, half, and 1/3. You can see that the size keep changing, but our layout still keep in this position. So That's how can we actually design in Interface Builder. But I'm going to do more of this. So maybe we grab our designer here. I'm going to make some joke of designer. Sorry about that. And so the designer might say, okay, looks good, Jake. This app, one app with one square. Here it is. But the designer said, can I actually apply some corner radius within the square? Yeah, of course you can. So let's do it. How can we do it? So let's do a subclass called awesome view, because anything is awesome. So subclass from UI view. And if you are this designer, you don't need to worry about this. I'm going to show you design in Interface Builder without writing a single line of code, but now I'm going to show something to developers. So we have a subclass here, and then we are going to define a property called corner radius. And then we just specify it's a CG flow, and then the default value is 0. So we in the set section, and we just set the baking layers corner radius equals corner radius. Super simple. So one way we can set this value, we can say outside, and the other way I could like to do it in away from nib. And away from nib, so we can set the corner radius. For example, we set it to 50. So let's run the app again. Oh, not going to work yet. I forgot one step, so I need to go back to our storyboard and let's let this view. And this time you can see it's not working. And I have to go to Identity Inspector and change that to Awesome View. So once I change it, and then I run the app again, and I should be able to see a square with 50 corner radius. Here we go. That's like this. But the designer might say, okay, it's good, but every time I have to run the app? Of course not. You can do much better. So let's do it here. So let's come back to our Awesome View here, and there's only 3 steps you can make it designable. The first step, we don't need it. Actually, 2 steps are good enough. The second step, or the first step, is we mark this class called IBDesignable. And the last step, and the second step, is mark this property called IBinspectable. And that's it. Next, then find knife code. And then we come back to our storyboard. Here is our storyboard. So this time, we are going to select this square again. And then we go to another panel called Attributes Inspector. So Attributes Inspector, we have a new panel called Awesome View here. Can you guys see it? Yeah, so we have a new property called corner radius. We can change it, for example, 20. You can see whatever we change in the panel, we can see it in the storyboard. So we can change to 50, for example, and then 64. So this is very simple stuff. So maybe you are a designer, you don't know how to write single line of code. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show you how can you use a library called IBAnimatable. So there's a couple of ways you can introduce IBAnimatable. One is using like a Swift package management, like what John said this morning. Another way I prefer to use something called CocoaPods. So I'm going to go to my folder first, and then desktop, and IB awesome. Then I'm going to create a pod file. So I already prepared one, and then I copy, and I paste it and tell you guys. So basically, this is an iOS 10 app, and then in the IB Awesome target, we have a library called IBAnimatable. We install it. So let's go ahead and save the file, and then because I'm using something called RBEMV, so I have to do something, set up the local version of Ruby, but you don't have to do it if you don't use it. So let's install the pod now. Done. So that's done. So let's close Xcode, because every time we install pod, you need to close Xcode and then open the workspace file here. Here it is. So basically, we open the Xcode again and I build it. And you can see there's 2 projects within our workspace. One is called IB Awesome, we just created a moment ago. Another one called Pops, and which will install our open source library like IBAnimatable. All the source code are there. So let's go ahead and don't worry about these pops for anything done by CocoaPods, and then we can go ahead and back to our main storyboard here. So this time let's select this view here. So this time I'm not going to use our handmade awesome view. I'm going to use one called animatable view from IBAnimatable library. So once I change to IBAnimatable view, you can see the model is IBAnimatable. So I can go ahead and go to our attributes inspector panel. So you can see there's much more inspectable properties, not only corner radius. For that, we still can use corner radius here, like what we can do in Sketch. And we can easily change fill color like what we can do in Sketch. And I just remove it now. So for example, I'm not good at picking color. I can use something like a flat color. So it's better than Sketch because Sketch doesn't have this. So you can have a pumpkin color here. And you can change it to 20% of opacity, transparency, or you can change 90% of that. So I'm going to remove it. So you can easily add something like a border. Here it is. So you can see the border. You might see that. So I can change it to 2, for example, 4. So whatever you change in Interface Builder, you can see immediately. You don't have to run the app again and again. So you can, there's a lot more properties like rotation, you can do it in Sketch, and shadow, anything, a lot more than Sketch. But I'm not going to go through each single one because too many powerful properties. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite called mask. So if I use Sketch, I use mask every day. So if I can also use it in the Interface Builder now. So for example, I change it to circle. So you can see a square around the, what's that called? A circle there. And if I want to change to triangle, so I can see a triangle. If I polygon, so I can see a polygon, but you can specify how many sides of your polygon, like 10 sides of polygon. So one of my favorite called star, so you can use 5-point star. So my son's not here now, but his favorite called legit star. This is also the Geo's favorite as well, I think. And you can specify the points of the star. So I leave it as a 5-star here, because there's 5-star app. And anyway, you have seen how easy we can design user interface in Interface Builder using those properties. But I'm not going to stop here because we can do more than just what Sketch can do. We can do animations Sketch can't do. So one way we can do animation, you can just easily specify the animation types. For example, specify pop, and that's it. You run the app. Come on. Simulator. Oh, sorry, I just forgot to change my favorite 6S because you can see 7 parts too big. And okay, come on, you can do it. Xcode. So if you watch the others doing some like live coding in Xcode, they just say that's normal. That's to Xcode, right? So you see, I can say that as well now because that's not stopping the previous one. And if in that case, what I can do, I just shut it down. For example, come on, just give me a sec. Actually, give Xcode a sec. And if it still doesn't work, I just force quit it. All right, come on. Yeah, I want to, but I can't do anything. And I actually prepare video, but I don't want to. I prepare live coding for more than 10 times. I had never prepared live video talking for even once. So I want to actually live code it. But if it doesn't work, then I have to live talk through my video. So let's open Xcode again. Okay, so this time, make sure I open 6S, and then I run the app again. Okay, so we have our simulator comes up. And then you can see the popping star. So you can specify more animation stuff like a pop 3 times. You can just do it like this 3 times, and then you should pop 3 times. Okay, quick. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's simple. So as another one I want to show you is called squash. So you will squash 3 times, like all the Disney animation does. So like this thing here, and sometimes we try to bring something into the view so we can see slide in and left. So I'll do it here. So you can see we have end star slicing nicely using physics-based sprint animation. So we can customize our animation more, like specify the duration and delay and damping, velocity and force, all these physics-based factors. But trust me, they are work perfectly fine, but I don't think, because I lose a little bit time before, so I'm going to move one step forward now, and I show you most of the other apps they can't do and we can do well is transition. So you can see most of apps, they have multiple screens now, not only one. So I'm going to bring another screen here. And before I do another thing, every time I bring a screen here, I can select the view here. And basically, I will go to Identity Inspector and change it to animatable. Come on. You see, when I'm in rush, and I'm not good at this thing. So, okay. First step, I always change to animatable elements within IBAnimatable library. And second one, I can have a lot of properties here. So another good feature I want to show you guys called gradient. So I change to Opera. You can see the second view controller has nice gradient color here. And the next step, so there's some rendering issue of Xcode. Okay, it fixed itself. Of course, sometimes doesn't. And how can we actually navigate from the first view controller to the second one? So sometimes we can use tab. So we can bring up a button here. So again, anything I bring up to the interface builder, and then I just bound it like animatable button. Then I have a bunch of property I can choose, like change the color to my favorite one, purple. And then I change the text color to white because make it more visible here. So if I go back to this panel here, so I'm going to close this. And then if I change to iPad Pro, it doesn't work, right? Because we haven't set up any auto layout. So quickly set up some auto layout here. So I just set up the size and make it center, and then the vertical spacing. So auto layout could be another talk, might be another 10 talks. So I'm not going to waste time on this thing now. And I'm going to show you how can I navigate from the first one to the second one. So I select this button here, and then I just drag it and release my cursor here. You can see here. So in interface builder, between two view controllers, we have connection. The connection called segue. So you can see there's a few segue provided by interface builder or Apple or Xcode. And IBAnimatable library will provide much more segue you can customize your transition. So one of my favorite called exposed. So I choose exposed now. And then you can see we have an arrow and a connection here. So they call segue. So one more thing that we have to do is select this segue, and I go to the attribute inspector and select the model and hit enter. Because there's a bug in interface builder. If I don't do that step, and our app will crash. It surprised me, Xcode 8 didn't fix that issue. So now we can actually press this button to have explosion map effort to navigate to the next one, like this. So now we have small problem. How can we navigate back, right? So we end up in the middle of nowhere. So don't worry, we can just copy this button here and paste it in the second view controller. So of course, again, we have to set up some constraints, like center. So you can see fully constraint. Oh, come on, I just updated friend. Yeah, done. So this time, I'm going to show you guys something. Okay, if you see it here, there's 3 small buttons there on the top of your view controller. So one is called exit. It's something like you go out, this is your door. And then what can we do? So we just select the button. Okay, select the button and release in the exit. And then you can see some few segues you can go away from this view controller. Basically, if you use a web browser, that's what the back button does. So now let's run the app again and see how it goes. So come on. So let's go to this one here, and then we want to come back, and then we just press this one. So we can have a same transition effort explosion to come back and forth. So let's play around the other transitions. Here it is. So choose another one of my favorite one called Portal. And then we run the app again. All right, so you can see we open the door, close the door, open the door, close the door. So do you feel if it could be natural if we use gesture? IBAnimatable library actually does support a gesture. You can actually use gesture to open the door, close door, open door, close door, open door, close door. Yeah, I want to see. I want to make fun with my son, but he's not here now. and also, of course, you can use your button to navigate. So basically, you have seen how easy we can design our user interface, animation, transition, interaction, navigation, anything, almost anything within Interface Builder. I'm going to show you guys one of these apps we make. That's a demo app for the IBAnimatable library. So if you download the library, you can play around this app by yourself. So you can see there's a to-do app, and we done this app within Interface Builder without writing one single line of code. So you can see it's fully functional. You can tap on the create account. You can see all these text boxes slice in nicely, and we have onboarding screen and all the features within this menu screen. So all these screens, they are all working, but I'm not going to go through each single one because we are running out of time. So you can see this interactive, and then you can tap on it, chat box, and then you can see this also interactive. And if you want to type, you can type here. So basically, in Sketch, you can't do this at all. And in Framework, you can't even do that easily. But in Interface Builder, you can do anything within Interface Builder. So like sign out. So I show you here's the storyboard. And we done this app within only single storyboard without writing one single line of code. So the designer can do it. And if the designer done this and grab a developer, then just plug in a data model like iCloud or Firebase or even just local database, core data, whatever, then you can ship this app to App Store. That's a topic. We can design App Store ready app in Interface Builder. And actually, I done all these slides in Interface Builder as well. It's even more screens. You can see the whole slides in one storyboard. Okay, can we just come back to our slides? Okay, so you have seen the live demo, how easy we can design user interface, animation, interaction, navigation, whatever version in Interface Builder. And IBAnimatable dramatically improve every aspect of Interface Builder experience, reaching a new level of innovation and precision to make this the best Interface Builder we have ever made. I didn't make up this one because you will see this sentence for each single new iPhone launches. If I can speak this one right, and I can be the next CEO of Apple, hopefully. So that's why I can't actually pronounce it right, because anyway, and let's move on to the second part. So you can see the powerful library called IBAnimatable. And if you are a developer, you are a designer, you can go away now. But if you are a developer, you can say, oh, show me some code. Yeah, okay, let's do it. So how can we implement this extendable and flexible UI library? All right, so last year, Apple introduced a new programming pattern called protocol-oriented programming, like a POP, so like a Pokemon. So let's figure out a scenario. So you guys have seen how easy we can implement a corner radius for UI view. So yeah, my son's here. See again. And can we just actually apply the same corner radius to an image view or button? Yes, of course we can, right? Because we are good at copy pasting. So on top of my head, the first solution, of course, copy paste. So I can copy the first slide and then put it in the second class and then the third class. All right, easy, job done. But we have POP, we have protocol-oriented programming. We can do it better. We can do it better always. So let's do it better. So how can we do it better? This time we just create a protocol called corner desirable. It has only one single property called corner radius here. Simple. So that's the responsibility of this protocol. So the next step, we can implement one protocol extension method called configure corner radius, which provides default implementation for UI view. You think about this is very simple. It's like a layer dot corner radius equals corner radius. But the creative bit is we actually provide default implementation for a protocol. You think about in Objective-C, we can't do it before. Even in Swift 1.2, we can't do it. But in Swift 3 or 2, we can do it. That's called protocol extension. So we can provide different protocol extension methods for different platforms. For example, in the future, you provide the same interface to the outside, your users, and then the user doesn't care about how can you implement it for iOS or Mac OS. They don't care. You just implement it for me, but you give me the same interface. So now if we want to support Mac OS, we just write implementation for it. In the future, I don't know how long. Maybe we can do it for Android. All right, so we can actually provide a single interface to the user, and then the user can support multiple platforms in the future. So think about we have a better solution now. So we just delete all our copy pasting code again, and then just, you see, all our elements, they all conform to the protocol called corner designable. And then because they conform to this protocol, they have responsibility now. They have to override this property called corner radius. And then in the design section, they can all call this protocol extension method called configure corner radius, which is this gesture in our previous slide. So think about this. If we change the implementation, previously we have to change anywhere, copy paste again and again. But now we don't have to do it. We just delete this line and change the new implementation. So that's the power of protocol-oriented programming and the power of protocol extension methods. So we can encapsulate all this logic, UI logic, within protocol and protocol extension methods. So you think about IBAnimatable, super powerful library. It grabs all this logic into protocols. You can see there's some protocols. I can't show you all of them because too many. They are all powerful. So I can only show you some of them, like corner radius, corner designable, fill designable. You can change fill color easily. You can apply different flat color, gradient. We have more than 200 different gradient colors you can choose from. And border, shadow, so rotation, you don't have to tilt your head upside down to see your design anymore. And mask, you see, oh, my son again, anyway. And so you can see those two images. So nowadays, all the apps, they have a lot of images, right? But how can we present some information on top of image? A couple of ways we can do it. One's called tint. So tint basically is a dark color with some transparency. So we not only support tint, we can also support tone color, shade color, different color. So look at the detail, look at the library. If you're a designer, you understand what I'm talking about, but maybe you are not if you're a developer. So after iOS 7, Apple actually used a lot blur effort. So you can do it blur effort in Interface Builder, just configure in your property. So let's have a look at those two text boxes. A little bit, because there's placeholder text color, so I break it very, very grayed out. And sometimes we can change the placeholder text color here easily. You think about in web development, it's just simple couple lines of CSS, but in iOS, it requires 10 lines of code, more than that, if you do it in the text view, not text box. So, but with IBAnimatable, we can just do that in Interface Builder. So the last one I'm going to introduce to you guys called Animatable. You can see this one. They encapsulate more than 50 different animations. So next time, when you want to implement some UI effort or animations, what can you do, right? You just grab your Pokeball, walk around and see any Pokemons. No, of course not. You just go to Apple and then you can just grab your Pokeball and see any protocol you can use. And then you throw out your Pokeball. Then you grab your protocol and done, job done. Right, so let's have some example. Last time I did it on my MacBook, but this time I want to do it better. I do it on my iPad. So you think about a user case. So if you might heard about it, Google has a design language called material design. And they use material design on all the different platforms like Android, iOS, and web. So if you want to use, so good design actually work on all the platforms because they all follow good design principles. And you can, if you want to use material design on your iOS app, lucky because we have material library. And we also have IBAnimatable library. But you think about before, we have two libraries. How can we put them together? It's almost impossible. Objective-C, how can we do it? No way, right? So even you want to make them perfect match, but no way before. But okay, let's have a look at a more concrete scenario. We have a raised button from material library. You can see this nice ripple effort. You can see on this projector, hopefully, and you can have like an animatable library here. So how can we put those two efforts together, have ripple effort and animations? So let's do it together. So basically, we subclass from raise the button. And then here's one. So you can see we already got the effort, ripple effort. And the next step, we might actually think about it. We want to have two efforts together from two buttons. Can we subclass also from the IBAnimatable button? Of course not, because Swift doesn't support multiple inheritance, right? Like this, boom. So lucky us, because IBAnimatable library encapsulates all the UI logic within protocols, not the class. So you can see we can convert to animatable protocol instead of subclass from animatable button. So now you can see the error message actually more promising because it tells me you haven't confirmed this protocol because this protocol has some properties like animation type, blah, blah, blah. So let's come back to our subclass and then let's confirm to this protocol. So basically, we just override all these protocols and apply default value. So if you look at carefully, number 3 and number 8 is how can we support ELAM in the interface builder. I can spend a whole talk like Gio does this morning, talk about Swift ELAM, but I don't have that time, so I just skip it out. And we just think about, we just override all these properties at that moment, and then the next step, we have to apply the default value for those properties. So how can we do it? We can call this nice protocol extension method called configure animatable properties. We just assign some default value, like duration, we assign 0.7 seconds, and then we come back to the subclass. The next one, we want to run the animation. So how can we do? We can override a method called layout subviews. Once the layout finish, and then we just start running the animation. This is another protocol extension method in our animatable protocol. Let's have a look. Here it is. So basically, we just check this auto run flag. If true, and then we just run animation. And based on our pattern matching switch statement using nice Swift elams. So there's a whole talk, but I don't have time to talk about it. So basically, it configures 9 from lab in something like that, and then we run slash. So basically, your subclass can always call your default implementation easily, but they don't need to care about how can you implement this animation. I just give me a one method name, for example, like auto run animations. And pretty much that's it. That is all the implementation. How can we create this button here, which will have ripple effort and also animations together. So the next step, we can go back to our interface builder, and then we specify like pop 3 times, and then now you can see we have ripple effort and pop animations together. So only 29 of code you already implement, put 2 libraries together, 2 animations effort or UI efforts together. So the next one, I just show you another one's called slicing from left. Right, so finally, we made those 2 libraries match together. So originally, I want to make this one like a Tinder style, but I know my wife's coming, so I'm pretending I don't know anything Tinder. But even she's not here now. So I make it like ugly emoji heart, popping heart there. Yeah, it's ugly anyway. So Next recap, almost end of the talk, finally. And here, I hope you guys, if you're a designer, you remember interface builder is designable and animatable. So you can think about you might not need to use Sketch, or after you use Sketch, you can use interface builder, do something design. And design is adaptive. You think about in Sketch, you can support different devices, or next you make each single device one design. It's too much. But in Interface Builder, you can do one design for all the devices. So there's 2 talks this year in WWDC about adaptive design. I can show you the link later on. And design, you can ship your design to your final app, so you don't waste anything like a Sketch or Framer stuff. You just, whatever you design in Interface Builder, just ship it to App Store. But make sure you ask the developer to plug in your data model. And, right? So prototype is interactive and dynamic, so including animations, transitions. So most of the other two, they can't even do it, or very hard. You need to learn some JavaScript. But in Interface Builder with IBAnimatable library, you don't have to do any code at all. You just drag and drop and configure. So unfortunately, these two only support Apple's platform, so it doesn't support any Android stuff. No way. Not. If you are an Android developer, you couldn't come to this room, right? And if you're a developer, hopefully you can remember something called protocol-oriented programming. And because we might have years of experience in Objective-C, so make sure we don't write anything Objective-Swift. So Swift is protocol-oriented programming language, so you think about anything should be POP. And POP is reusable and flexible. As you can see, the library is how reusable and flexible. And protocol extension is powerful, and then you can also provide different protocol extension to different platforms using protocol extension method. So we have scope for the implementations, but your user of your API doesn't care about that at all. They only use your API. They are all single API, nice API. So if you are interested in this talk, there's a time you take a photo. At least I sit in the middle, and then you can take a photo of me. Okay, check out a project called IBAnimatable. And the second one is about IBAnimatable and material design. And if you're new to POP, so check out the third one. If you're new to Interface Builder, check out fourth one. If you want to know about how designable works, and the fifth one. So there's two talks about adaptive UI, how can you support different devices. And because I know there's some website called like a slide share or something, but we don't have interface builder share or storyboard share. So I have to put my slides on GitHub, and this is my GitHub address. So basically, you check out this project, and you can see how many storyboards in this project, and just run it on your iPad. And that's the end of the talk. Thanks, guys.